Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of The Flock Rundown. Sorry I haven't made a video in the last week. I was traveling for some family stuff, and then I got kind of sick. Still a little sick right now, but we're back. Missed you guys. And the Ravens made some moves. Kyle Van Noy has been re-signed. Huge move to ensure the edge rush depth. So he's on a 2-year, $9 million deal. We've been saying that we wanted Clowney and Van Noy back to ensure this depth like we had last year, and we got one of them. Clowney obviously took the money and wanted to be close to family, so he went to Carolina, but Van Noy is back on an affordable deal. I feel like this is worth it. Had a career year for him. He had 9 sacks last year. I just really wanted a veteran at that edge spot because it's so risky just going with Odafe Owe and David Ojabo. I'm not saying they can't do that. I hope they do break out and are incredible Pro Bowl players. But having a veteran there for rotational depth at the bare minimum is super important, and we know what Van Noy brings. We know he's going to play hard. You know he plays like a Raven. We know he's versatile. He can rush. He can drop a little bit. We can use him in a variety of ways, and I think his role will be similar to what it was last year. He could play a little bit less, but that's okay. I'm not mad about giving Ojabo and Odafe Owe more opportunity. I just really wanted a veteran there for some depth, and especially one that we already trust because we saw what Van Noy did in the Ravens uniform in this defense last year, and I'm happy to have that back. And this signing just continues to take pressure off of the draft picks as well. You know, we can still draft best player available. There isn't one glaring need. I would say offensive line has the most holes, at least from a starter standpoint, but we've even been adding some depth there with signing the tackle. And I can see DeCosta's strategy is to kind of shore up these holes at least a little bit so that you're not forced like, oh, we have a first-round pick, we have to go this way because we need this so bad. And you can continue to draft best player available, which ensures that you're going to add a talented, productive player to your team, even if it's not in the most needy spot. But by adding this depth, by signing a Van Noy, it takes pressure off of the edge spot. So could we go edge in the first round if that's the best player available? Absolutely. But if it's not a big deal. You're not forced to reach for a guy just to fill a need. And I think that DeCosta loves to live in that world. So signing guys like Van Noy and making some of the smaller additions that we have throughout this offseason creates a lot of flexibility heading into the draft. So I like this spot that we're in. And speaking of the draft, would you guys want to see me do a mock draft? I know a lot of other people do mock drafts, and they're kind of all just for fun. You know, no one knows exactly what's going to happen, and we're not all professional scouts. But it is something fun to do and get you talking about the prospects that the Ravens might have. So drop a comment if you would be interested in a mock draft type episode. I haven't done one of those before, but I think that'd be pretty cool. Staying on the same topic at edge and the draft a little bit, there's been some rumors flying around that Matt Judon may return to Baltimore in a trade. Now, this is just rumors from my understanding. I don't think there's any concrete sources saying that they're in talks or anything like that. But I do like that idea. I really like that idea. Judon has obviously played in Baltimore. He understands the culture. They understand him. He had success in Baltimore. I know it was towards the end of his contract. He didn't get a lot of opportunity earlier in his contract, but he had a lot of success in his contract year and then went to New England and became probably an even better, more polished, well-rounded player, which is rare. Usually when guys leave, they don't quite flourish the way they were originally, especially in that contract year in Baltimore, but he's not that. You know, he's on that Zadarius Smith example where we had these 2 pass rushers who were really productive for us in their last year. We let them go, and they got better elsewhere. And Judon's 32, so he's obviously aging. New England's in a young rebuilding type stage, and they may be looking to unload him, and Baltimore has a hole for that because what Judon would bring is closer to what Clowney brought. So signing Van Noy, I don't think eliminates the idea of adding Judon. I think if we added Judon, we pretty much run back a similar scenario to what we had last year because I think he can do everything that Clowney was doing and be just as productive, if not even more productive, in another year in Baltimore. His cap hit on that trade would be $7.5 million, which isn't crazy. We could obviously give him a small extension or manipulate something to even move that around a little bit more, but it's not like that's an insane number to have to deal with. And the draft compensation that you'd have to give up for him is low. The Patriots would be trying to unload a veteran contract on an aging player. I mean, it's not going to cost a lot. So I just think it makes sense. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but I do like that idea, and I think that completely replaces the loss of Clowney, and then we obviously already brought Van Noy back. So our pass rush group, in my opinion, would be pretty set. If you want to add a young talent in the draft that just falls to you and he's best player available to kind of bring up next, perfect. But we'd be all right going in with Judon, Van Noy, Odafe Owe, David Ajabo. I'm fine with that at edge. Tavius Robinson, Malik Ham. I think that edge is enough to be productive next year. So we'll see what happens. It's just talk right now, but I just think that makes sense. I hear a lot of talk about a lot of different things, but that one struck a chord with me. I was like, this is a good move. It's cheap, it's low risk, and Judon's going to be productive at least another year or two. So I'd really like to add him back to Baltimore, bring him back to Baltimore. We almost did that with Darius Smith. I think he agreed verbally. We got the notification that Smith's headed back to Baltimore, and then he ends up going to the Vikings or whatever for bigger money. Last thing I'll touch on before I get out of here is the big move that happened in the AFC yesterday, and that's Stefon Diggs going from Buffalo to Houston for a second-round pick. Houston then chopped off the last 3 years of his contract, gave him a $3 million raise, and he's now a free agent after this year, so that's kind of a weird position for them to be in. That second rounder feels a little expensive when you look at it like that because he is technically just a rental unless they're trying to renegotiate the contract, but that wouldn't make sense because he didn't have one of these new wide receiver contracts. So I'm pretty sure Stefon Diggs is going to want to hit free agency and try to maximize his value, and these receiver contracts right now are pretty crazy. So if it's just a one-year rental for Houston, a second-round pick is pretty pricey. But either way, they got way stronger. I mean, they added Joe Mixon and Stefon Diggs and Danielle Hunter. I mean, it's a way to use your cap space. I love the Texans' moves. They're going to be a force this year. Meanwhile, in Buffalo, they definitely got worse. There's no other way about it. I mean, I'm sure they're going to draft a receiver high, but they just do not have any weapons. I don't like their receiving core at all. Gabe Davis went to Jacksonville. Stefon Diggs is in Houston. Those are massive losses to Josh Allen's weapons. I know they got the young tight end. They got James Cook at running back. Seems like Buffalo's kind of in a weird spot. So I'm curious to see how they are this year and what direction they go in. I don't think they'll be an awful team. Josh Allen's still good. But without weapons, that makes life very difficult. And he already kind of forces balls and throws a lot of interceptions. And now you don't have a lot of talent around you. It's concerning. I'd be concerned if I was a Buffalo fan. I feel like that's definitely a small step back. But it's a long off season. We've said this about Baltimore, you just have so much time to fill out the roster. I can't fairly judge anyone's roster or anyone's offseason until the season's actually here and I can see what team's really out there and how they're playing. That is a fair judgment of the offseason moves, not in April, But that's it for today, guys. Let me know if you do want a mock draft episode. I definitely will do that. I think that's an interesting thing. I just haven't done one yet, but I just want to make sure it's something that you guys would even be interested in watching. I know there's so many out there. And then just let me know what you think about the Van Noy signing, about the Judon trade idea. If you have any other trade ideas or targets that make sense financially and risk-wise, definitely drop those ideas below. And as always, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.